In the lead up to the 26 November state election, we focus to the Legislative Council, and one of the parties amongst many contesting that space is the Family First Party. I'm speaking with Lee Jones. Lee, how are you today?
Good, thank you, Ricky. Good morning to you and your listeners.
Thank you, Lee. And you're running in South East Metro. Why have you put your hand up to run for this Family First Party?
Look, when it comes down to it, Ricky, at the end of the day, this election's about one question. And that question is, who's going to protect your family from Labor's radical political correctness? There's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there at the moment. We've got kids who are being transitioned without the knowledge or permission of their parents. We've got legislation which allows babies to be aborted the day before they're due. We've got attacks, like visceral attacks on religious freedom by the Premier of our state. Something is going really wrong in our society. There's an awful lot of harmful stuff going on. It concerns us deeply. Often people say, well, somebody should stand up, or the church should stand up, or politicians should stand up. We are standing up. That's what it comes down to. We're making the stand.
Now, when you say we, Family First, you've got candidates running in all of the upper house regions. Is that right?
We've got candidates running across all of the upper house regions and the great majority of lower house as well. So we, at this stage, we've got well over 60% of all lower house districts covered, and we're still driving for more.
Okay, so there's still time for people if they want to put their hand up to be a candidate in the lower house seat to do so before, that closes off. All right, now, Lee, just tell us a bit about yourself. What's your own personal background?
I have, obviously you can tell from the accent, migrated from the UK back in 1992. I've been here a long, long time now, married to a beautiful lady, have two grown-up kids who are doing well. I came here with a desire for a better life. Australia offers just a wonderful way of living and a relaxed way of living, or it used to, until these crazy sort of political correctness times came on. I've generally been in and around the IT industry, although I've taken diversions into not-for-profits and into construction and aged care, of all things. Most recently been CEO of a digital organisation. The thing that got me into politics, Ricky, was that 6 years ago I was successfully running a digital organisation and got fired because of my faith. I then realised what was going on in society. There's this shift now where there are a certain class of people who think that unless you believe and follow a particular sort of new ideology, that you don't really have the right to participate. And this is exactly what Andrew Thorburn found. By simple reference to the fact that he was part of a church that has traditional beliefs. That was enough, and not for anything he'd personally done or said or acted. In fact, his actions are quite contrary to the accusations being made at him. But the fact that he was seen as not having the right to do his role at Essendon Football Club simply by virtue of association to a church. That is a scary place to be, and that's getting more and more. So back in my day, my experience was one of, it's just a quiet one. But of course, as soon as I found out, as soon as that happened to me and began to talk to other people, I realised that this was not an isolated incident. And what you see with Andrew Thorburn is that this is now becoming very, very blatant.
So sorry, just tracking back on you talking about your experience, you were fired because of your faith. Why was that?
That's correct. Look, I can't go into a lot of details around that. I'm bound by deed. And look, I've got to say, I wish no ill will on that company or on the people who did that. In fact, I'm grateful in some ways for them waking me up to what's going on in the broader world. But yeah, simply there were aspects of my faith that did not sit well with some of the people in that organisation, just a small minority. But as is often the case with this kind of radical LGBTIQ belief system, if you don't accept what they say and claim in fullness, then you literally don't deserve a place. You have no place at the table and should be excluded, and that was very much my experience. Yeah,
that's disturbing when supposedly there's religious discrimination laws that are meant to prevent that sort of thing.
There are, yes. And what we're seeing now, I think, is when the Premier of the state weighs in, like he has done, he's kind of saying, I don't really care whether the laws are there or not, that the new moral law of the radical left, for my money, what they're saying is we don't care about the real law, We just care about the moral law, that you must go along with our ideologies. I would say it's fairly black and white for Andrew Thorburn. His termination was unlawful. It was based on religious discrimination. And no matter how you cut it or try and defend it, and there are some commentators, of course, who are trying to defend it on the basis of, his values didn't align. Well, I'm sorry, that's extremely subject to interpretation. But the fact that the Premier has weighed in makes it really gives moral permission to any organisation that wants to fire someone because of their faith. It's not just Christian faith. We have great relationships with people in other religious communities, and they're all terrified about what's going to happen to them.
Well, when it comes to that fear and the laws that you're talking about, the Legislative Council is one of the two houses. The government's formed in the lower house. Currently, there's a crossbench there. Neither Liberal, Labor or National control that chamber. You're looking to get a space on that crossbench, I guess, to tighten up the failings of the law in that and other areas.
That's correct, yes. We have the opportunity in that house to I guess, be that small rudder which steers the larger ship. There is an unfortunate expectation that Dan will probably win again in November. We're fighting and striving against that with every ounce of our being. But if that happens, then we do need a healthy crossbench to challenge the very worst excesses of what Dan can do. And what we've seen what happens when the crossbench folds, the kind of power that's been given to Dan, and the things he's done to Victorian families as a consequence.
Well, Lee,
we want to stand absolutely against that.
Lee, thank you very much for your time. We're out of time here, but wish you all the best for the election and look forward to seeing what Family First has to offer getting closer to the poll.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate your time.